guys, Brandon here with Emerald Coast Pro Plus Detailing, giving you some pro tips and tricks today. We are going to be showing you the proper wash technique to wash a motorcycle. It's a video that we haven't done yet, so it's something that I thought would be beneficial to many of my clients, as we do see a lot of motorcycles here. This is a little bit different of a method in washing the car. It's called a rinseless method. I put some videos out with this method before with cars. It is still applicable to motorcycles. The benefit to this is you can do it right within your garage with a single bucket, a garden sprayer, a compressor, things like that. So you can get out of the sun, beat the heat, do it in the garage, do it effortlessly and efficiently without scratching or damaging your motorcycle, or more importantly, flooding it with gallons and gallons of high pressurized water, which we definitely want to avoid, because some of these bikes, as you can see, they're pretty big and they're pretty expensive, so we don't want to do any damage to them. So sit back and relax. We'll get this video going here and show you the proper rinseless wash method of detailing a motorcycle. How-to video on how to properly wash a motorcycle using a rinseless wash method. Rinseless wash is a little bit different than a traditional wash. We're not using 2 buckets, we're not using a ton of water. However, we are using polymerized encapsulation and just a different method of cleaning a car. There's more lubricity beginning to end. It helps reduce surface tension, marring, swirls, things like that. A lot of the times when people get motorcycles, they just kind of wipe them down with quick detailers and do things like that. It's really not the right way to wash it and take care of it. This method here, very easy, very user-friendly, something you can do within your garage. That way you're not doing it out in the heat or pummeling your bike with tons and tons of water, high pressurized water that could potentially do damage to certain electronics and features of the bike, which we definitely don't want to do. So sit back and relax. We're going to get everything set up here and show you how to do the proper washing and detailing, the rinseless method here today. Alright, so now that we've got everything set up, I'm just going to give you a basic breakdown of what the essential components are to washing a motorcycle in the rinseless wash method. So the first and very important thing that we need is obviously the wash solution. So I'm a big user and I don't know, prohibitor, I guess you could say. No, not prohibitor. I'm going to do that over. That's terrible. I used the wrong word. What are you putting on your head for?
I was fixing my head and stuck in my head.
Okay, so now that we have everything pulled out and ready here, we're just going to go over the essential components to rinseless washing a motorcycle and or bike. So the first thing that we start with is the wash solution. I am a big user and avid fan of Optimum No Rinse. They do offer 2 options. One is just the standard Optimum No Rinse, which is just a straight concentrated cleaner. The other is the Optimum No Rinse Wash and Wax, which will put a sacrificial layer of protection on. It uses a synthetic wax. It's good for maybe 4 or 5 weeks of protection, so it's a once a month kind of deal. So if you want the protection, you go with the wash and the wax. If you already have a pre-existing sealant or cleaner and you just want to clean it, or just clean your bike at all, just use the standard Optimum No Rinse, or ONR as we like to call it. If you have a ceramic coated bike and or car, because this can be applied to cars, I don't particularly recommend using ONR wash and wax. I don't actually like using ONR on ceramic coated cars. So if your bike is ceramic coated, there's another solution here I'm going to mention in a second. The reason for that is ONR is soy based, and I've actually seen it clog coatings, and I will do a video on what happens when coatings get clogged. But basically it retards the hydrophobics and characteristics of the coating, which we don't want. It doesn't do it on all coatings. but because we don't know what coating is on every vehicle unless we've done it, we don't really particularly recommend doing that. So it's not saying that ONR is a bad product, but it's more formulated to clean cars with sealants and pre-existing waxes and things like that. So I'm not saying don't use it, I'm saying just be wary that if you see something happen, there may be an extra step that you have to do to unclog that coating. This bike is not ceramic coated, but if it was ceramic coated, the rinseless wash media that I recommend is the Gloss Shop Sublime Express Wash. Again, a concentrated cleaner. It's very similar to an old Meguiar's rinseless formula. I think it was D115 or D114, I can't remember the number. It's been gone for a while now, but it's just a straight cleaner. I've never seen it have any issues with coating, clogging any coatings that I've used. So as far as if your car or bike was ceramic coated, I've had very good luck with this. So that is another rinseless wash that I do recommend. However, today we're just going to be using just traditional ONR because, like I said, I've been using it for years and it always works very well. What we have here is we have a 5-gallon bucket. You can barely see it in the video here. It's filled up with about 2.5 gallons of water. The dilution is for 2 gallons. I like putting a little bit of extra water in and giving it a little bit extra lubricity. So essentially what we're going to do here is on the bottle, there's a cap, and that's 1/2 ounce. So we want to do 2.5 caps of that to the 2.5 gallons of water. That'll give us about a 1 to 256 dilution ratio. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. And I usually just do it over the bucket. That way if anything drips out and goes in the bucket, it's not really harming anything. If you use too much product, really the only thing you're wasting is maybe a little bit of money. But on a bottle this size, if you were to use, you know, a little bit extra, you're maybe throwing away 15 cents. This stuff is very cost effective. So we have put our wash solution in the bucket. One thing I highly recommend, whether you're washing a car or if you're washing a bike, is to use warm water. The reason for that is warm water increases fluidity. What that basically means is it helps break down and turn any sort of debris that is not fluid more soluble, so it wipes away easier. The easier we can wash something and rinse something or wipe something away without increasing surface tension, the less likely we are to add things like swirls and marring and scratches. So on a bike that gets very dirty, it's very important to do that. So what I like to do is put very warm water not only in my bucket, but I also put it in my sprayers as well. Like I said, what that will do is it will help make the debris more fluid, so it wipes away easier. Also, this ONR, it uses a form of polymer encapsulation where when it comes in contact with the dirt on the surface, it's going to lift it off, encapsulate it in a polymer ball, and add lubricity and then wipe away very easily. So the warm water will definitely help just kind of pull that all in together, and it will work very seamlessly and very effortlessly. So I definitely do recommend that. The other two things that the other three things we're gonna have as far as washing it goes, I like to use a sort of compressor tool where basically that same ONR is in here. What this gun will do is when you spray it, it's going to actually release that fluid onto the surface of the bike. So kind of like spraying it down with a hose, but you're using compressed air and a little bit of liquid there. I also like to use a garden sprayer, which will also help spray that on the surface without as much pressure. The last thing I like to use is a compressor with just a standard gun, just to spray all the dirt off. And then obviously, this is actually number 4, I lied, I said there were 3 things, there's 4. And actually there's 5 because there's a drying towel too, but we aren't there yet. There are 2 types of basically sponges that you can use. You can either use the designated red sponge, big red sponge that Optimum recommends, or if you're not using ONR, you can use something like these autofiber flip mitts, which are very nice. Super plush, they're over 1,000 GSM. You can flip them inside out, you can kind of wear them like a mitt. I'll demonstrate both of these in this video because you can use both of them, either one is fine. So really the first thing that we want to do, I'm just going to kind of move things around here. So not right on top of the bike, the very first thing I like to do is simply just hit it with some compressed air. What that's going to do is anything that's loose, that's not really sticking to the surface, it'll just kind of blow right off the bike. So that's the first thing I'm going to do here. I'm just using a really awesome gun. Actually, it was like 15 bucks from Lowe's. It's a Cobalt, and the compressor set at around 140 psi. So we're just going to spray this down here real quick. You might be asking yourself, why aren't you just using a pressure washer? Now, I mentioned earlier that it may not be in your bike's best interest to load it with heavy amounts of water, and it really may not. The reason being is bikes are weatherproof, they are not fully waterproof. So although they can handle a little bit of rain, if you start hitting a bike with 1,800 psi of gallons of water, there's nothing saying that it won't get in little nooks and crannies. You've got radios and special electronics. Now they are, manufactured pretty well, but if you lessen the chance of getting water in somewhere, you increase the chance of not damaging your bike. So I personally I've never used a pressure washer on a bike. I think it's overkill, especially with the way detailing products have just enhanced over the last decade. There's so many different ways that you can do this. And again, this is something that you can just do in your garage. Obviously, most people store their bikes in their garage. I always recommend washing a car in the most shade as possible, where it's cool, where you're out of the elements. Obviously, if this is in the garage, you can definitely do something like this. The next thing I like to do is I like to take my garden sprayer here, which has some O&R in it, and basically just do what's called a pre-soak. So what this will do is on contact, this will come in contact with the dirt, start lifting it off the surface. So this is just an old school pump sprayer. So what I'm going to do is just kind of pre-soak this whole bike here before we get started washing. Alright, so now we've got it pre-soaked, so the next thing we're going to do here is hook up our little sprayer tool, compressor tool. I don't really know what the exact name for this is. It was supplied to us by Biotech. They do carry them on biotechusa.com. Basically what we have here is we have some water in here, and we have about half a cap of O&R, and what we're going to do is just kind of hit it with some pressurized air. It's got a little regulator on the side where you can do just air or you can do part fluid. So we're going to do part fluid just to kind of help pre-soak this a little bit more and get some more of the topical dirt off. So for all intents and purposes, we're not going to do the whole bike. I'm just going to do a small section because there's a lot more that we're going to do when we wash this bike. We're going to pull the bags off. We're going to pull the seats off. That is really at your discretion if you want to go that far. Obviously, we're supplying a service to our clients, so we are going to do that because that's what we do with all bike washes. But basically, from this point, what we've done is we've blown the bike off, we've pre-soaked it, and then we've added a little bit more pre-soak and added some more pressurized air to knock some of that dirt off. So right now, the dirt is lifting off the surface. It's pretty much ready to be washed. At this point, you can either use your autofiber flip mitt or you can use your optimum no rinse big red sponge. We're going to use the big red sponge because the big red sponge is formulated to work with O&R the best. When you do this, you basically just want a slight drip on your sponge, somewhere around that. And essentially what you want to do is just do 4 to 5 passes with the sponge, and it will just take the dirt right off. And kind of the same method as a car, left to right, top to bottom. Now the reason why I like to keep the flip mitt around is because there's just some areas where you can't get the sponge in there. But again, I'm just basically doing the top surfaces that are easily reachable, because we're going to take all these bags and everything off. These panels here pop off, the bags are going to come off, so really what I'm doing is just kind of starting the process here of washing everything. And then when I can remove certain components, I will wash those again, by hand. just want to try to get as much as you can here. And this bike isn't filthy, it's just white, so it looks really dirty. But essentially that's what you're gonna do on the whole bike, is just, you know, wash everything very, very gingerly by hand. If you are using the autofiber flip mitt or some sort of microfiber towel, again, you wanna just gently have it leaking with water. Just a slight dribble, something like that. And then this will just kind of go on your hand, and you can basically do, you know, essentially the same thing. You just very nicely wipe over everything. Like I said, I like these for certain areas of the bikes because they, you know, you can feel the towel better. They contour to your hand. You can get little, you know, creases like here. And just very gently go over everything. Flip it halfway through. It's cleaning up everything pretty effortlessly. So then we basically get to drying. So let me grab a drying towel here and show you that. All right, on to drying. So the nice thing with the Optimum no rinse is there's never a rinsing portion after you wash it. So we've just washed the bike, and you can see, hopefully you can still see that there is liquid still on the bike, so we want to dry it off. There's no reason to grab a hose or anything or spray it down. All you're gonna do is grab a waffle weave towel, which is the towel of choice that I recommend. These are widely available on many, many websites. Companies like Autofiber, Chemical Guys, there's just all kinds of companies that make these. These will simply just absorb the water the best. And all you're really gonna do is just very gently, just the weight of your hand, you're just gonna wipe the bike down again. That's really all you're gonna do. You don't have to, you know, put a lot of pressure or do anything like that. You're just gonna kind of drag the towel over the surface, and it's just gonna absorb the water very easily, very smoothly. So basically, you know, if you're indoors, if you're in a garage, there's no reason why you can't kind of wash the whole bike and then go over it with the drying towel. I wouldn't push your limits too far and let it dry on there, because then essentially you'll just have to re-wash the bike. But maybe do a section at a time, maybe do half the bike here, and then flip and go to the other side and do the other half. But basically that's it. You know, what I like to do when I'm done is I'll go back through and maybe spray in the crevices, just try to clean them by hand and things like that. But that's really, like I said, at your discretion. What we're gonna do here is just finish washing the outside of this bike. We're gonna take the bags off, we're gonna take the seat off, we're gonna take these covers off right here, and really deep clean and get this whole bike looking great. So hopefully this video has been somewhat useful for you. I can't talk, but I'll get better at it. And showing you just how to properly wash a bike using a rinseless method option. We will have another video that shows a 2-bucket traditional wash. It's not going to be on this bike, we'll do a different one. But like I said, this method is great because you can do it in your garage, you can be out of the heat, you don't need to get hoses and all this crazy stuff. The compressor is really optional. You don't need it per se. I like to do it just to be safe. Most guys that have motorcycles have compressors, so it's pretty easy to fire up your compressor and just get a little blowgun, and that will definitely help knock some of that dirt off and definitely help increase the reduction of swirls and scratching. It'll also give you a much better end result. So I hope you have found this video informative. If you have, please give us a nice thumbs up. Like and subscribe and a follow maybe. And if you have any questions on the products used or the technique or method used, just leave a comment in the comment section. If you are subscribed, click that notifications tab to be notified when new videos come up. And we'll see you next time. A couple of tips and tricks here. If you can't really get in those hard to reach areas and you're maybe not taking the bags off, you can also put some O&R or whatever your rinseless wash of choice is and just throw it in a little spray bottle and just spray it on. That always works too. So I'm just doing a second coat here. Some people are uncomfortable with removing bags if you're, you know, a hobbyist, or maybe you're not quite there yet in your detailing game and you just want to leave everything on. No worries with that. We've also sprayed some bug remover on the front here, just to kind of help. You can kind of see when you spray how it pulls the dirt off. You can see it right there perfectly. So, you know, using a good pre-soak will definitely help quite a bit. So don't be afraid to use your pre-soak as much as you need it. And there's really no reason to spray this front area here. What we'll do with that is just spray it on a towel and wipe all this down. But what we're doing here is just kind of washing this. And you can spray it on the chrome as well. We'll wash the chrome separately. But this O&R pre-soak here, little concoction that I've got going, will not damage chrome or anything, so feel free to spray that on. Yeah, there's some more dirt here. Let's see if we can, you can see it better in the front, but a good pre-soak goes far. So we've got this pre-soaked here. We're gonna get this cleaned up. Oh, here's some more dirt. Let's see if this helps. Yeah, you can see how it just the raw power of this chemical can just knock the dirt right off. You got more on this side here. It's crazy how you hit it with a compressor twice and there's still some dirt left over, but you get right on top of it here. It just cleans it up. So it's knocking that dirt off, lessening the chance of any sort of scratching or marring to the paint, which is important because bikes aren't cheap, but this one's pretty big. All right, so we're gonna get this washed up here and we'll show you some more highlights of the bike detail.